very, very, very important change. Don't forget.
What was the traditional?
Wait, so traditional is you have justice and security as the main focus of the church. That's where just war theory comes from.
Yeah.
But their focus was justice, and then in the 20th century it became peace.
And in conditions for peace.
Conditions
for peace.
And the importance was placed on peace for the people, and much more emphasis on the people.
Condition, educational conditions, economical conditions, democracies, etc. Another question: which dimensions of justice emphasized that is difficult? I think very difficult. Emphasized the Vatican Second Vatican Concilium did emphasize for Latin America, for the war, and for instance for Latin America. The bishops in Latin America tried to understand the principles of the Second Vatican Council and to interpret the situation in the countries of Latin America. Which dimensions of justice did they emphasize with the consequences? Procedures, like we emphasize procedures? Procedural justice or
like
penal
what
justice?
happened during the World Wars, the things that they decided?
After.
How
In the
wars...
60s, 70s, 80s.
Huh. I just have here, like, war is okay only if it is inevitable due to legitimate defense.
Yeah, that was first.
Okay, the second one.
Yeah, exactly. But my question is, the emphasis, if, for example, right now, the bishops in Latin America, and the most important concern is about what?
The truth, freedom, and justice?
Yeah, but especially in Latin America about something.
Economic development.
Yeah.
Solidarity, charity, dignity, and subsidiary.
Yeah. In terms of justice, you can use the word social justice.
Okay.
Social justice. That is the most important concern since the Second Vatican Council. If you want to be more specific, 1960 to 1965. And the last. Do you see why in Latin America there are liberation theology? And what is the liberation theology? The political theology.
Can you explain?
You are the master.
Liberation,
in this area.
liberation philosophy, theology, was sort of developed, I guess, right after the period Patricio just talked about, when the bishops met in Colombia and sort of talked about the Second Vatican Council. And I would say the main emphasis of the social justice of liberation theology is, from a procedural standpoint, would be the elimination of poverty. I think that it was just exceptionally important to them that people who have traditionally been marginalized by, say, colonial governments or elite governments or just corrupt governments now have, thinking even back farther, their human dignity respected. So they sort of took like a political science approach and combined it with their religious thoughts and thought that like a Christ-centered life that was focused on his message would essentially lead people to a better social order. I guess. I'm not sure exactly what specific procedures or something you mean, but that's...
And they emphasize the praxis, remember you?
Yes.
The highlight of the praxis more than the message?
Sure. I mean, it was very much not just a thinking, but a doing, living your life that way.
Wow. Well, we go, thank you so much. We go to the another topic, globalization. Globalization in the world.
I also printed out copies. Just here, a little more trees there. from better technology and communication between different countries and different areas of the world. And so that internationalized your markets. And also, this was after the ISI, which largely dealt with state intervention in economic policies and control and the protectionist views that people have been talking about. So during this time, as the market's being internationalized, protectionism kind of like causing the Latin American countries to become insular, and they're getting held back. And then between 1973 and 1979, the oil crisis, there was a first oil crisis caused by OPEC, and that caused the price of oil to go up and all of its products. And some of the Latin American countries produced oil, but most of them did not, and so the oil products that they needed were a little too expensive for them, and so they started going into debt. And then the second oil crisis was from 1979 to 1980, and that doubled the price of every barrel of oil, and so these developing Latin American countries were severely affected by that and went very far into debt, and it was just made a little worse by the fact that they were borrowing from more industrialized nations.
Let me ask, there are relations between globalization and integration?
Between countries and integration of the markets, globalization largely was pushed forward by developed countries as a way for them to expand their markets and to like make more product off of their exports and obtain more resources. And so in order to do that, it was advantageous to integrate the markets with different countries and allow trade. But the protectionist policies of the Latin American countries, especially those that have been endorsed by the ISI, are kind of holding Latin American countries back from integrating into this market, especially in emphasizing their own export capabilities.
You did, I'm sorry, you did identify conditions, specific historical facts that influenced the globalization in Latin America, the oil crisis, for example. Do you see another conditions, another special conditions for Latin America?
Well, for Latin America to begin with, it's always been behind in industrialization, and so when the big industrialized countries took off, Latin America became more of a raw material exporting and like refined material consuming. And so they had low profit on their exports and really high cost on their imports.